So it's Harry and Meghan, as promised. You wanted me to look at both their charts. So I thought I'll do it like I would do a synastry reading. And what I normally do is, before I even look at the connections, I look at the individual charts to see what they're kind of after in relationships. So let's starting with Harry. And also, this is a good opportunity to see, is there misogyny in the chart? You can't really see it, to be honest. You can't, because it's similar to, I'm reading this book at the moment called Dirty Genes. And I think if you have sort of markers that look like they're misogynistic, but it doesn't mean, obviously, everybody who's born on this date is not going to be like that. But if you have environments that will bring out that potential, then yes, it could show up as that. And there are kind of stars that are quite macho like that. But obviously it all depends on the person and their upbringing as well. And, genes can be switched on and off as well, as this book was saying. So astrology kind of works in the same way. So anyway, so with Prince Harry, I mean, the only thing, I don't see any sort of misogyny markers, as it were, in his chart at all. The only thing you could say is, Capricorn rising, it's quite a patriarchal rising sign. And what he's looking for in a woman is Cancer, which is ruled by the moon, which is traditionally, is the archetypal of the sort of mother figure. And, we know that with Harry, his mother is very much idolized, put on a pedestal, and his moon, that's the thing, his moon, as I've already mentioned, is conjunct Ceres. Ceres' moon are both sort of mother archetypes. Ceres is more associated with the grief and the loss of a child, or loss of a mother as well, or a mother. Yeah, it's bereavement. But his moon is in Taurus, which it's dignified. It's in its exaltation. So that's almost like, it's even more than like a rulership. It's put on a pedestal. So it's kind of honoured in that position. So yeah, he will raise the woman in his life and put her on a pedestal. And what I also thought was interesting was that his Venus, which is also how he sees women, is in Libra. Venus rules Libra, so incredibly strong there as well. So if anything, yeah, he really does, hold women in very high regard. But then he's got a Capricorn ascendant. So I don't know, maybe that doesn't kind of square off, but it sort of balances it up as well, I think. I think it does. But in his actual chart, he doesn't have... This is the thing about his chart, and we'll talk about Meghan's as well. Neither of them have any red aspects. They have no hard aspects at all. So in a way, when you don't have any squares or oppositions or even conjunctions, I mean, he's got the conjunction with the moon and Ceres, but it's not even very tight. It can sometimes mean that he's got a chart that's quite easily manipulated, manipulable, malleable. That's the word. And, you need some kind of squares to be quite proactive, and they're sort of like very Mars building kind of aspects. So sometimes when you get a chart like this, you can be putty in other people's hands, and, other people can be pulling the strings. And when we look at Meghan's chart as well, she's the same. So there's lots of similarities between their charts, and I could see why there was this kind of both sort of the victim of certain circumstances. So he's looking for a domestic goddess in some ways, and someone who's like his mother. And Diana was a Cancerian, so it is quite eerie that he does have Cancer on his descendant. And then when we go across to Meghan, really interesting, because she is Cancer rising, and she's looking for this kind of Capricorn guy. So she does want a sort of traditional patriarch or at least a strong guy she can lean on with Capricorn, and someone who can ground her. Because obviously, Cancer is a very emotional sign. She's ruled by the moon. She's very, what's the word? The moon is always changing, forever changing. And now the thing is also, which is kind of interesting, is her moon is conjunct Saturn. So even though she is Cancer rising, the moon conjunct Saturn does give her a bit of a Capricorn, grounds her as well. So yeah, I think she is looking for someone to be her rock, So that's what she's looking for. She's looking for a Saturn guy, and Harry is that. Another thing they both have is, oh yes, I was going to say, Harry has Venus sextile Mars, which is, that's a nice balanced, healthy connection between the goddess of love and the god of sex, And guess what? So does Meghan have that. Different signs, but she has it too. Where's she gone? Yeah, so she's got it too. So that's quite, eerie too. So it is weird that they have that. They're sort of answering each other's archetypal craving. Like he is craving Earth Mother woman, and someone who is similar to his mother, and she's looking for a father figure as well, even though he is younger than her. But it's maybe he kind of represents, there's the inheritance, and the fact that he is from a very hierarchical, patriarchal lineage. And even if she protests, the lady does protest too much, is kind of what turns her on. So I think she likes that. She likes the man in uniform. He's a soldier as well. So that's that. Oh, yeah. So let's look at what she's looking for in a man. So yeah, she's got moon in Leo, sun in Leo. So yeah, she's the queen. She wants to be treated like a queen, but the sun in a woman's chart also represents the sort of guy she's after, and he's royal. You can't get more Leo than that. And the royal family in England does have a preponderancy, has a lot of Leo in it. I don't know what's wrong with me today. So it has a lot of Leo anyway. So the royal thing, don't tell me she didn't know about who Harry was. She likes a royal, and she likes the hierarchy as well. And then her Mars in Cancer is interesting. So, but she likes the kind of, there is a soft side too. She wants a kind of, this is a contradiction that you sometimes get in charts and in synastry is she's kind of magnetically attracted to a sort of patriarchal, earthy, base, down to earth type of guy. But she does want a sensitive one as well. So, but also, Mars in her first house is, that's the sort of military as well. Oh yes. Now, another thing about Prince Harry, I forgot to mention, the star on his descendant is Sirius, which is the brightest star in the sky. And it can mean that his partner plays this kind of like star role. But then his mother, in a way, was also larger than life. She's the most photographed woman in the world, and probably the most famous woman in the world, probably even more than the Queen when she was alive. So that's Sirius burning bright, burning too bright, on his descendant is also quite representative of Diana. Okay, so that's that. Then I like to look at charts on top of each other. So with Prince Harry, so Meghan's, now this is the most interesting thing, and I mentioned this before, is her Mars is bang on his descendant. Exactly. Wow, I didn't realize it was exactly 11:26. I mean, that is eerily too close for comfort. It really is. So it's like, is she his, his what's the word? Open enemy, Mars. That's sexy, but it's also really I've never seen that. I don't think I've seen it in any synastry readings I've done. And not exactly like that. So that's interesting. So I mean, some people would say that's, not likely to last because, Mars is wounding, and all the time it's like she is this wound. And also, I mean, her Mars sees him as the 7th house, but, it's like, I will conquer you. I will, love bomb you. And if she is a narcissist, obviously I don't know her. I'm not her counselor, so I can't say that. But if she is, then the love bombing would be really intense with that Mars there. Really, really, yeah, crazy. Crazy that is. Absolutely crazy. Then her sun is in his 8th house. So she's seeing him as the 8th house. Inheritance, It's the underworld area of the chart. It's death as well. So, and the mourning of his mother, the death of Diana is there. It's inescapable. And in synastry, that's not considered a good position, really. The sun, ideally the sun should be in his 7th house, but it's in the 8th. So it's not good for her to be seeing him as inheritance. Now, her Venus is in his 9th house, which is a lot of travel, which obviously has been, emigration. They've had to move to another country. That makes sense as well. And he's exotic to her. She didn't know the British national anthem. He's foreign, la la la. Yeah. And then her moon Saturn is in his 10th house, which is all about status. So she sees him as the status. Yep. That makes sense as well. The 10th house can also be, parental, but obviously he's younger than her too. But I don't know, maybe she feels like the mother figure to him in a way. And I think we've covered, yeah. So I look at sun, moon in houses and Venus and Mars. So we switch it the other way and how he sees her. So I've lost it. Where have you gone? Oh, okay. So his sun is in her 3rd house. So he kind of sees her as that's like a sibling house, like my sister. It's a nice communication house as well. Best buddies, that kind of thing. Not incredibly romantic, but on a day-to-day level, they get on quite easily because it's very light-hearted. It's a kind of Gemini house. His Venus in her 4th house, so he sees her as kind of home. The 4th house is the home, and also as a parent too, someone to set up home with. That's very comfortable. Now his Mars in the 6th house is not so great because the 6th house is slavery and an unequal relationship. And yes, it is, because he's royalty and she's straight out of Compton, apparently. So that's just the unevenness there. And yeah, he's comes from the colonial past and she's not from that. So there you go. Very unequal. And then his moon is in her 11th house. He sees her as the 11th house, which is quite nice as well, like best mates, good friends. And that's an easy one. But not really. You see, he doesn't really see her. Oh, well, his ascendant is in her 7th house, but that's the only one that's kind of romantic as a connection. But for him, she's a good mate, which is nice. He's seeing her in a better light with his placements. She, on the other hand, is love bombing, good for books, Venus, and nice inheritance, and great for her status. So yeah, I don't know. There you go. Now, what else? Let's have a look at the synastry grid. So now, okay, they've got the Mars on the descendant, which is, I think that's an instant attraction. That's a huge sexual whoosh, pull like that. Ow. Yeah, and ow. But when you look at their synastry, they don't have any sun-moon connections, nothing there at all. Their Mercuries are not even in aspects either, so the communication isn't great either. You have to go quite far out before you get anything. So, and it's Mars. So his Mars is trine her Sun. I mean, that's great. That's very passionate, nice. And also the sex. I think the sex is good between them, you know, because his Mars square her Venus. That's hot. That's really hot. The thing is, it's a square, but it's very spicy. And what I've noticed with these is that sometimes the timing is wrong, and it's sometimes common with people that have affairs with each other where the sex is really hot, but they don't really get on as friends. I mean, their planets and houses are quite friendly, you know, from Harry's point of view, but really the important thing is to look at the aspects that join, you know, the inter aspects really, because that they are much more about how strong a connection you have. The planets in houses is more of a style. It's not really as the nitty gritty is the planet connections. So I would like to have seen a lot more between the personal planets that are trines, and the only trine we have is Mars Sun, which isn't really that great. You know, because the sex does die down eventually. Now, his Jupiter square the moon, that can be exaggeration, a lot of drama, a lot of Instagram, blow everything out to be entertaining. But, you know, it can be a lot of hot air. But it's funny, it's fun, it's still fun, you know, even if it's a square. Then their Jupiter's a square, and then Jupiter square Saturn, it's a generational thing, nothing really important. His Saturn is square her Sun, which is relationship glue. I mean, that's good, but it would have been better if it was a trine. With the square, she feels the weight of his kind of traditional background, which is going to come out as he gets older. Because I've noticed this. It's like, you know, when people are young, they rebel against their parents and they're all like, I'm nothing like them. But then when they start getting into their Saturn years, they become more like them. And his patriarchal misogyny, if you like, if there is any, will come out a lot more, and it'll start to really annoy her and really grate against her. And he might just become an old fuddy-duddy like his dad, you know, and a real stickler. I mean, I can imagine him being a mini Prince Charles. He does look like his dad, you know, there's no question. He's his son. And I think that's the reason that Charles does love him. I think they're almost too similar. I think that's the problem with them. He's like mirror image. And, you know, when Charles was younger, he was seen as the sort of playboy, rebellious prince. You know, he was. So yeah, I think, you know, this Saturn, it's there. It's underneath it. I mean, you could see it a bit, you know, when in the Netflix documentary when she did the bow, and you could see Harry kind of looking at her going, It was, if he was a cat or a dog, he'd be growling. But he was kind of going, yeah. So, cringe moment. But that's his Saturn to her Sun being the star. Yeah. Now, his Uranus trine her Sun, that's kind of exciting. She's sort of seeing him as the kind of like, oh my God, it's a prince. You know, Dad, I've got this prince boyfriend. Yeah. So even though, yeah, there's that sort of irreverence there, I guess. Oh, he was the irreverent prince, so it's not like she's, dating William, who's totally not the same. Now, they have got a relationship, glue one. Not so, again, it would be better if it was a trine, but it's his Saturn sextile her Venus. So that is a good connection. His Saturn trine Mars, yeah, that's all right. Gives them stamina, gives them sort of longevity. But that's kind of it. Hang on, let's see, is there anything else? Yes. Okay, so his Venus conjunct her Pluto, so she's the taboo, so yeah. And now that is very much the whole, is she manipulating him? Well, she's the Pluto here, and you could say yeah, you could say yes there. Who's playing Pluto? She is. The other way round, yeah, his outer planets, the only one really is Uranus trine her sun, which is the exciting rebellious thing, and that's it really. Anything else? Oh, okay, his Uranus on her vertex. And where's the vertex then? So his Uranus on her vertex in the 6th house. Trauma and very fated. Yeah, I think it, I don't think he can last. I mean, they've got a few relationship glue ones, at least his Saturn sextile Venus, but you'd really need, if it was a trine Venus, that's what you would want to mitigate the very lack of Moon, Sun, even Mercury. You need more than that. There's no, I mean, the children. I know people have been going on about how Lilibet isn't here. I think the children are. I think they're genuine. I mean, because the Mercury, his Mercury is children conjunct her Ceres, which is the Mother Earth business. But okay, yeah, Mercury conjunct Ceres, you could say that could be a child. Oh yes, and also his Jupiter trine Ceres, that's very fertile. That's very fertile as well. So there's no. I don't think. I think that's. I know there was all this speculation if those children are really theirs and she was older, and I don't know. I think with the family would have. Samantha would have said something, So I mean, that's the thing. You can get over the top some of these conspiracies, which distract from, what's kind of really going on, which is, she is. I think the narcissism is definitely there. I think you could see it with the main thing is her Pluto Venus. That is a classic sort of Lilith. She's a Lilith figure. She is a Lilith figure, Meghan. And the South Node Uranus as well. Oh, I didn't see that one. So her Uranus on his South Node. I think in the past, maybe, if we're talking about past life issues. Oh, yeah. He has Ceres opposite her Uranus with the South Node there, which is shock, trauma, the death of his mother, her sudden loss. She's kind of echoing all this to him. And I think, it's trauma bonding. I think that's what it's all been about. Whether she's a honey trap, could be as well. But I don't think this is it's not a great big love story. It's very uncanny that her Mars is on his descendant exactly like that to the minute. It's 11:26. That's just too close there. And and her Pluto is very manipulative of his Venus. Now let's look at his Venus again. What is it actually manipulating? I mean, he has a strong Venus, but it's manipulating his public image because his Venus is in the 10th house of his status in the world, and Venus in Libra is all about image, what he looks like, and and her Pluto is doing a job on that, really. Should we just look at her chart then? Let's look at her chart. Okay, so she's got Pollux rising, which is the dark twin. Pollux and Castor, the twins in Gemini. And Pollux was supposed to be, the dark twin. I mean, dark, literally. And it is kind of the outcast. And he was the sort of supernatural one as well, because he was the immortal twin, whereas Castor, the good twin, was the human one. So it is interesting that she has that kind of black sheep thing. Her IC is Algorab, which is the crafty crow. I think I said this before. I mean, there is criminal stuff going on in her family. I think the mother was involved. I think she was jailed, somebody was saying. And that's why she wasn't around a lot when she was younger. So that can be, criminal stuff going on there with her IC, which is the root of her chart, which is, the family line. She's got Pluto in the 4th house as well, which can be sort of criminal stuff. But I just find it quite unremarkable. There's no kind of squares. There's nothing meaty in there. Oh, she does have an eye aspect pattern focused. Well, this is kind of interesting. Yeah. Okay. So she's got this eye aspect pattern. So it's Venus sextile Mars, and it focuses in on that Leo sun, which is the royalty thing. And it's also in the second house of money, wealth. So is she looking for the money? And her North Node is in the 2nd house of wealth as well. So there is that, a nice big settlement. That's it really. I just find it a bit boring, really. Midheaven, interesting as well. Her midheaven is conjunct Eris, which is kind of the warrior queen, and she's seen as this kind of sassy feminist, speaking in the UN, and she wrote that letter to, what was it? Some soap company saying that they were sexist and so Eris can be seen as a sort of, has a feminist side to her as well, I guess, and also Lilith. So she's seen as the kind of, the Lilith Yoko Ono thing too. There's that. And her midheaven is on Alderamin, which is in the king, the tragic king. So her image is, her status is connected to this tragic king figure, which, Harry, I guess, is, tragic ex-royal. Well, again, this is going to be a transit. So her South Node is Altair, the eagle. It's, her past will catch up on her with her when Pluto hits that, which is in a couple of years' time. So, and that's inheritance and wealth. So we'll see, when will she get this inheritance? It's imminent. It's imminent, and she's done well for herself, you know? She's done very, very well for herself with this kind of quite unremarkable, weird chart. It's a weird chart. I just find it very, I don't know, I just look at it and go, it's just, I can't explain it. It's just very timid. It's strange, you know? I mean, I'm not saying that anyone that does have this kind of configuration, it's kind of quite introverted almost. It's all below the horizon, which is it's just odd for someone who is, you know, in the public eye and has the announcer star there, you know. I mean, maybe it's all, you know, it's very insecure. I just get the feeling of a very insecure chart, and maybe she's doing the Mars, you know, the Mars rising. Not everyone born with a eye to the sun in Leo is going to marry a prince, literally. But it is interesting. It is interesting, and it is, yeah. And sun in Leo, obviously, you know, all you sun in Leos out there, you know that you do need, well, you like to be seen. You know, they like the spotlight. That's what Leo's all about, and drama. And her moon in Libra is very charming, definitely. But there's that Saturn there. Actually, but you know, there's the Saturn and Jupiter. I forgot about the Jupiter. See, if Saturn wasn't there and it was moon Jupiter, that would be very kind of jovial, very, you know, vivacious, extrovert, even though it is still under the horizon. And Aries midheaven, Mars ruling it. You know, she's a activist. Yeah. All right. So I do chart readings. I do synastries. And if you're interested, I will leave a link below. And who should we do next? I want to do Madonna. I really want to do Madonna next, I think. I think there's nothing more that I can say about Harry and Meghan now. But I would like to look at some of the others. But I just want to, let's just do them while people are asking. So yeah, so thanks for listening. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.